My name is Saajida Chohan, and I've been stamped by Raleigh Marketing.
Raleigh Marketing is the one-stop shop.
Welcome to the Raleigh Marketing Stamp. I'm live here with Saajida Chohan.
Thank you.
Artist, having her exhibit in the VMFA. How do you feel about having your art displayed here at the VMFA?
Like, this is a dream. I could have never imagined that me just dabbling at home with all of my different mediums, that jewelry would have been the one to make it into a business and all the way into the museum. A dream.
Awesome, awesome. So how'd you get started with, jewelry making? Or is that where it started? Or did you start with painting first? Or like, how did it start?
So I've always been an artist. I come from a line of artists. My mother was an artist, different mediums. My sister is an artist. She actually taught me how to make jewelry. And so we make jewelry together. Two different styles, but we do make jewelry together. I got started because of my love of crystals. I got started in learning different earth elements. Crystals, herbs, different essential oils, different plants, roots, different ways of using earth elements for health benefits and health reasons. So when I started learning about different crystals and their healing properties, I started wondering how I can keep these crystals near. And jewelry was just almost a no-brainer. And being that I was always an artistic, creative person, my jewelry started forming a life of its own as I sat home and practiced and just did more.
Okay, a life of its own. What do you mean by that?
A life of its own, meaning, I don't want to say typical, but the typical jewelry, crystal jewelry maker just uses very common techniques like wiring, the round beading for the bracelets, but I wanted to actually incorporate my passion and my love of African culture into my jewelry so that my jewelry started to tell a story. And so that's the life that it's forming. It's the story that it's telling.
Okay. So African, does that mean you have African descent? Like, where are you from exactly?
Okay. I'd like to think that we all have African descent.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, but if you're asking me where I'm from New York City. My dad is from Pakistan. My mother is Cherokee and West Indian.
Okay, West Indian, Cherokee, Pakistani, African, New York. You have a variety of cultures.
I do.
Do you try to pull from all of those different heritages and incorporate that in your art?
Yeah, I certainly do.
Okay.
Even with pulling from all of my different cultural experiences, I always tend to see the African influence in each of the following cultures that precede the African culture. Yeah.
Would you say the African culture is maybe the biggest influence of art worldwide?
I would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, it seems like their African culture is ingrained in fashion. I mean, it's everywhere.
Yeah, literature, music, dance, just the culture.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah, I get that. So this piece that we have in the museum, could you explain why you choose to display this specific piece?
Okay, so the name of this piece is Masai Melange, and it is a fusion of tradition and modernity. And so I spent some time in Kenya, and I know that you everyone has seen the traditional kala necklaces with the long beading hanging down.
You said everyone, no.
Oh,
everyone has not seen what she's talking about.
There's some examples in there. I can take you in there and we can look at them. But the traditional huge, they go all the way around the neck. They're round and they go all the way around the neck. And they're actually traditional wedding necklaces. And I had purchased one. My best friend went with me and she had purchased one for me. and I keep it in my jewelry studio at home. And no matter what I'm making, I look at that piece for inspiration. So I decided to not just look at that piece for inspiration to get little elements and pieces and colors, you know, whatever I normally use it for. I wanted to actually translate that whole piece into my own style. And this is my wearable art here is actually my signature style. So I've been working on perfecting this particular story, this particular piece, this look, this design. And so the Maasai wedding necklace that I have, I translated that entire piece into what you see. So the colors, the patterns, the stones, the beadwork, all the way down to the copper tips, really is a translation of another story, of a Maasai story.
You know, I don't think I've ever thought about the storyline of jewelry outside of, I guess you could say, blood diamonds or something like that, you know, but you never really, to me personally, I've never thought about, you know, what is the story behind the art, you know. So do you share that story in each piece that you sell, or is it just like it's open for interpretation, or like how do you usually go about sharing the story?
So a few different ways. And the story comes from a few different means too. It comes from a few different sources. Sometimes I could be listening to music, and the music that I'm listening to is translated into the pieces that I make. And so that music then becomes the story. I used to be a literature professor, so sometimes the stories and the literature that's always stayed with me, that I still think about, sometimes those get translated into some of my pieces. Sometimes the story of the stones, the meaning of the stones, the property of the stones, the benefits of the stones that I use in all of my pieces, sometimes that helps me tell the story, because based on the particular stones that I use, maybe I want to build my design around the benefit of this one particular stone. It could be the colors. Colors have meaning,
Yeah.
right? So,
Especially in the marketing world, I'm always dealing with colors, so I get it.
in every world, culinary, you know, what, it doesn't matter, fashion. So even with jewelry, colors have a meaning, down to how they make you feel, what you use them for, all the way to the respective chakra system. So it could be a variety of different sources that the story comes from.
Yeah, good stuff. So what is the biggest message you would want to share with the world? Like when they hear of your name and your legacy, you know, what would you say your legacy is, or that the story, the message you want to share with the world?
I want the world to know that my art, not just my jewelry, but the rest of the products that I create. Also, I'm a candle maker as well, body product developer as well. But specifically with my jewelry here, which is art, and art is for a purpose, and that purpose is meaningful, right? And it's a way for me to express exactly what it is that I want to express. And so my legacy is my artistic expression. And that expression for me is important for the world to know that myself, my jewelry is an encompassing story of who I am and what I've built up to until this point. And really that is to be representative of culture, passion, love. I'm going to make up a word here, holism, holistic value. But really the story that my jewelry tells it's going to be my legacy. It is my legacy.
Awesome stuff. I feel like culture is very important, especially here in Virginia. I'm from Maryland, D.C. area myself, and I remember moving here and discovering that many of the people that I've met are not cultured. You know, because they may have never left Virginia, they don't know anybody outside of their family possibly, and have yet to venture out to explore other cultures, see how another person thinks and believes and sees life, in which limits you if you don't ever have those conversations. So I feel like culture is really important.
It is.
You know, specifically in Virginia, and having this displayed in the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts, I think is a very important detail, you know, here. But what would you say to that as far as culture and having it displayed in Virginia specifically? Is there any significance with you in Virginia coming from New York? What would you say?
Plenty. We are here in Richmond, where we have a very unique position. We are changing the culture of a very old way of understanding things. So we can start as far back as, you know, civil rights and slavery, and, you know, but let's start here where we are now, where we've been able to witness the monuments coming down. So now that is a very visible removal and a change in the culture, that conversation has to change as well. Yeah. But that conversation changing really incites the need to be able to see things not as they once were, which was, let's call it a lost cause. You know, if we can talk about like the lost cause myth, right? Now we have an obligation to start telling the truth about things. And I think that, I want to say little old me, but I think that my piece really speaks to what the title says. We are a fusion. Nothing is isolated. Nothing is just here on its own, right? We're here together. We came from something. We as a people, especially here in Virginia, but really everywhere, we weren't just dropped here from oblivion. We came from a culture. We came from spirituality. We came from a people that were practicing different rituals, and the rest of the world follows suit. You know, you have the Greeks, you have the other Europeans, you have the Spaniards, you have all different cultures coming in, engaging with the African culture, and all taking something away and claiming it as their own, which is a very human thing to do. But let's talk about that now, because we can.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, yeah, from kung fu to the food choices, yeah, absolutely. Now, she said something earlier about the monuments coming down. For those who are not in Richmond, who are not familiar, she's talking about in Richmond, Virginia, there were a lot of monuments erected to honor Confederate soldiers like Robert E. Lee and Christopher Columbus and things. And so those monuments have started to come down. And that's what she's talking about as far as culture changing and people being more open to saying no longer is white supremacy the dominant culture. We are more inclusive now. We are, you know, we're trying to embrace change. You know, I feel like it's the narrative we're trying to go for at this point, you know. Would you say that's the potential new narrative, you know?
We're definitely trying to embrace change. We're trying to make it into a real thing and not just a hope and a wish and a dream. Yeah. You know, everybody is trying to get on the same page, but the resistance is very much there and it's still very strong. But that resistance comes from not wanting something like this to be a fusion, you know, definitely wanting still that separatism, still that imbalance, and control. But just for artists like myself and others, there is a new exhibition over at the Black History Museum, and it's called the Art of Freedom. And really it's local artists just creating pieces that highlight what they feel freedom means and where it comes from and why is there a need to discuss and to create visuals for freedom.
Yeah, there was an exhibit in front of the VMFA I'm not sure where it is now. It was the horse with the black character with the Nikes, and he had
Yep.
locks, you know,
Yep.
and it like literally created conversation in the town, you know, where some people wanted to come down and other people was proud of it. So it was a very interesting response to art, you know, and how, so I'm fascinated with how art can create friction, if you will, you know, someone expressing themselves, creating a response in another, you know, so like, how powerful is art in changing culture, would you say?
The most powerful, because if you look at even in ancient cultures, what is the most long-standing artifact that we have? It's the art of those indigenous cultures and those really ancient cultures that was left behind, whether on the side of a mountain or rocks or however. That is that sometimes that's all we have. Literature is another one. Literature is certainly art, no matter how you look at it. It is a documentation of the storyline, you know, whoever's story it is. Right. But art is not just how powerful is it, but it is the most powerful because you can't erase it. It makes an impression, and that's its job. If art made an impression, then mission accomplished.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like art is also a timestamp of some sort, you know, lets you know, kind of like even listen to comedians type of art, like they're discussing issues of the era or issues of the day or
in a creative way.
Yeah, it's like funny, not funny, but we're gonna laugh, but it's really not funny, but it's possibly funny.
And you remember it.
Yes, but it's something that's happening. You're discussing present day, current. So I think from that context as well, it's your expression time stamped for that era, you know, and which is your piece as well. You're inserting yourself. I think that's why it's important for us to walk in who we are, right? Be who we are, operating our gifts, our talents, because we insert ourselves into the world. Hey, I'm here. You should know I'm here, and this is my impact, and not in a negative way. I don't think we should do that in a negative way, but something that impacts generations in a very awesome, powerful, positive way, I would say, you know. But this is good. Congratulations, having your art displayed or your timestamp inserted in this era of the earth, you know. Good job, excellent stuff. And anything else you want to say as for how to reach you? How can we purchase things from you? Website? What contact information would you like to share?
Okay, yeah. I house a lot of my information on liquidgoldapothics.com. I'm certainly very visible on Instagrams, and that is also Liquid Gold Apothics as well. Yes, you can purchase from me. Right now, I'm definitely in a pivotal time where I am trying to be more of an artist than a producer, but eventually I will be able to balance my time out and produce so that I can share my gifts with the world.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Good stuff.
Valley Marketing is the one-stop shop for your brand.